number 5 in this journey. We have 2 more weeks to finish up this series right before Gratitude Day or Thanksgiving Day. Nancy, I'm going to ask you, because you sit right there every Sunday, if in that meditation I don't start moving in about 5 minutes, come shake me. I was going somewhere today. I guess I needed that, huh? Yeah, definitely. All right, so this week on Mondays I do the sign with the talk, and it's all the letters are over in the old office building, and I was putting the sign up and got it all finished. Karma, bad, good, and balanced. And I was like, well, that's an interesting sign for a NOLA. And I went back to the office and was finished putting the old letters back, and when I did, the neighbor across the street comes out. Now, I don't know the neighbor, he's not very friendly with me, but his dog is. His dog likes me a lot. He comes out and gets the newspaper and takes it in. I'm like always impressed with him because he knows exactly what to do with the newspaper. But I'm watching him, and he came out in his yard, and I was coming out of the office, and he's looking at the sign going, and I could almost see his mind reading through it. And all of a sudden he's standing there, he just shakes his head like this and walks in. His ass. I was like, well, I could probably make up a story about what he just said to himself, but I'm not going to do that. So karma, today is about karma, and karma is an interesting word. And we're going to look at what karma means from different perspectives, from the scientific perspective, from what the Bible says, and also what is taught in the East. And there's a whole range of understandings or misunderstandings of what karma is or isn't. So hopefully we can get some of that straightened out today as we go along. Don't forget, this Tuesday night is the first Tuesday in November 2, and 7 o'clock here in the sanctuary. We'll, as always, go deeper to go higher. And I'm just loving this class with all the open questions and support. It's been a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday class for me. And we continue to ask this question, is life really a sacred adventure? I can tell you, about an hour ago, it didn't feel very sacred for me. But that's what it is, isn't it? The stuff's going to show up. And it's what matters is how we deal with it, how we handle the stuff. Because I got news for you, all the enlightened people and ascended people in the stuff shows up for them too. And if they tell you it doesn't, run, because they're lying to you. That's why we're here. It's the planet of lessons. I had a lesson today. You're going to have one later today if you didn't have one already today. And they show up. That's what it's all about, right? The journey. But I believe it's a sacred adventure. And we continue to look at that. So you've seen this picture before. We're going to talk more and more about it today, from the causal body around the I am presence, or the divine that's within you, above you, in this understanding that we have. And we're going to do some work around the rings. We talked about the rays and the energy last week, I think it was. But I'm going to work with you today on a process that I consider, it was actually a process brought by Buddha, and I think it's one of the most powerful processes that we can use during the day, during the week. And it's not that difficult. We're going to actually practice it here, so when you leave today, you're going to be able to begin to pull down the causal energy or the rays right into your being. It's a really good place to come from. And it's exactly what I just did 20 minutes ago. To be able to come back from this morning and be able to talk, get reconnected with the divine that's within you. And this works no matter what job you're in and what's going on in life. As we talked last week, this energy, these rays align with the 7 major chakras that you have in your body. The other 4 that are really important are in the palms of your hands and on the bottoms of your feet. I talked a little bit about this last week. Whenever you're getting wigged out, what happened to me this morning, my go-to was what's going on with my chakras in the bottom of my feet. They were closed up. What happens when your mind gets closed, when it's anxiety, when it's fear, when it's worry, whatever, you begin to close down your body. Pull in. It's a natural reflex. When you do that, you close up the chakras on the bottom of your feet. The Taoists call it the bubbling wells. And when they close up, all that gunk, all that anxiety, all that negativity runs up and down through your nervous system. Go to the bottom of your feet, open them up, and you're good to go. And where we end up is this whole notion of the threefold flame within your secret chamber of your heart. And they represent power, wisdom, and love of the divine. What I love about how this teaching is, and as you get connected, remember when you begin with this, it's only about a 1/16 of an inch high. As you meditate on it, as you send your attention to it, as you send your energy to it, it begins to grow into a full flame. That's how you feel light and love. You can do these decrees, you can do affirmations, you can write it down 10,000 times, put it on the board, do whatever you want to with it. It's only a mental exercise until you feel it, and where you feel it is where the divine connects with you, and it happens in your heart space. And as you begin to focus on that, as you begin to meditate, as I said, it begins to grow and grow. And it will begin to change your aura. So your aura is what interacts, a tube of light is what interacts with people during the week. It's part of your protection, but it also allows you to be in a place of balance and harmony. I brought this up this week. It's not part of the book, but this is coming out of our Tuesday class. I had some wonderful questions. Thank you, Paula. How does the ego fit into learning to unconditionally forgive ourselves, appreciate ourselves, accept ourselves, and love ourselves? For most of my spiritual journey, it was a battle against my ego. I tried to push it away. I tried to deny it. I tried to override it. I tried to wrestle it to the ground. You remember that story in the Old Testament where he wrestled the angel all night. That was kind of my journey with my ego. Until I began this whole understanding of unconditional forgiveness of myself is unconditional forgiveness of my ego. It's unconditional acceptance, it's unconditional appreciation, and eventually it begins to become love. So we've talked a lot about these two worlds and these two dynamics that we have within us. One of the ways I look at it is you have the wounded child and you have the spiritual adult. The ego typically is the wounded child. It's the one that just pitches a fit, right? It's the one within you that when you don't get your way, it rears its head. It says, wait a minute. It's coming from fear, not from love. And as a spiritual adult, you can begin to show love to it. You begin to embrace it. You begin to make it whole, part of who you are. This teaching has changed me incredibly because you cannot love unconditionally unless you can love your ego. And as you begin to embrace it and you begin to change it, it begins to change everything. But your ego is the part of you that doesn't know that you are loved. It cannot give love because it doesn't know it has love to give. The ego has been created by you. I created mine out of fear. I didn't feel safe. I didn't feel secure. So I build this around me. And if I'm coming from fear, I'm coming from anger, what am I going to do? It feels so bad. I'm going to put it on you, or you, or you. We project from that woundedness. And then it starts a whole nother negative spiral and dynamic. As we begin to love that of ourselves, embrace it, hold it, and say, no, everything's okay. You know, I used to call my ego Buckaroo, and now it's Danny. A little more loving. But can you imagine this morning how Danny reared up and was fearful of what was going on? Yeah, these are natural reactions that we all have. But unless we know how to love it and forgive it for getting all wigged out or want to project it on someone else or whatever might be part of what we're doing, as you learn to unconditionally forgive that part of you, you begin to move more and closer to wholeness, oneness. And we can never celebrate, we can never live, we can never own oneness with the divine until we have oneness within ourselves. Wholeness. And that's how we were created. And this in this process of the journey. That's why I say there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to fix. There's no seminar you need to go to get it right. You're right within. You're perfect. We just forgot. And we built this mask. We built this persona of that we're not right. It's not true. When you love and accept your ego, it recognizes that it has love. And the contracted aspect of consciousness begins to relax, and the resistance ceases to be. And as soon as the ego recognizes it has love, it ceases to be the ego. Ego you created out of fear. I created my ego out of fear. When there is no fear, there is no ego. This is a really, really radical teaching. It's exactly what the Master Teacher Jesus taught. And it's also what Buddha taught and Krishna taught in different ways. Unconditional forgiveness of yourself is unconditional forgiveness of your ego. Unconditional acceptance, appreciation, ends up finally getting to a place where you can unconditionally love yourself. You can say you love yourself with words. That is even a stretch for most people. But you can say those words all you want until you feel that you love yourself unconditionally. You haven't made the bridge from fear to love. And it's a process. You know, don't judge yourself, don't condemn yourself, don't criticize. It's like, okay, here's where I am, here's what's happened. I mean, I recognize fear coming up this morning. And as you become more and more self-aware, you will say, okay, I need to deal with that. And Wendy was back on the computer doing her Earth Angel thing, and I said, I got to go be quiet. That's the only way I know to deal with this when it comes up. When you're coming from fear, nothing good happens, folks. And as you begin to release that and come from love, yourself includes your ego now. Ego must die to be reborn as love. And I consider this the personal crucifixion that you and I will go through. I believe every story that the Master Teacher Jesus gave us a story for you and I to live through our journey. To me, this is what the crucifixion was all about. You got to die to the physical. You got to die to ego to allow divine love, to allow perfect love, to allow love without any conditions to begin to blossom from your heart. Whew. Well, that was a side trail out of the lesson today. But I felt it was so important because I was watching what was coming up in a discussion Tuesday night. I didn't want any of you to miss this. If you have any questions about this process and how to work through it, just email me and we'll go from there. Okay, karma, what is it? Sanskrit word for action or a deed. But here's one of the keys to it. Because most of karma is about what you did, your behavior. But it's action or deed in any thought, feeling, spoken word, belief, and actions. Okay? We own the responsibility for all of that. We've been learning the vibrationally what goes into the universe, comes back, and all those things. The word for that is a word called karma. It's from the Sanskrit, meaning action or a deed. It's really interesting. I've had many conversations with my Christian friends who say, I can't believe you believe in karma and reincarnation. Some of you may have had that in your own mind. Some of you may have heard it from other people. And I said, well, why does that word upset you so much? And they said, well, it's that Oriental thing. And I said, well, is it Oriental thing, is that a negative? Well, no, it's kind of like a pagan thing or something. I said, a pagan thing. Do you believe in the Bible? Oh, yeah, it's the Word of God, right? So I whipped this out on them. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a person sows, they will reap. I said, that's your teaching, not mine. It's not Oriental. It's coming right out of Galatians. So if you believe it's the Word of God, then for me, then it's all the Word of God. So how are you missing this one? Which could say karma on top of there. It's the same meaning. But somehow it got twisted in the West, in the Christian faith is that something was bad about karma. Now, I'm going to be just as hard on the East, because the East turned it a different way. They made it about suffering, and they made karma kind of like, well, it's predestined. This is going to happen to me. That's just as wrong, because that takes complete free will and choice out of the equation. And you'll hear people say, well, what can I do? It's just my karma. Well, then that whole concept becomes, well, what can I do? The devil made me do it, kind of thing. Right? So it can be misused in either direction that way, because when we have free will choice, the responsibility only lies here. But when you read this, another translation says, the Lord will not be mocked, or the law will not be mocked. It's perfect. Whatever you put out, whatever you sow, you will reap. That is exactly the teaching of what karma is. Or, as Isaac Newton said, scientifically, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. Cause and effect, right? So all of these teachings are in alignment. They're just different words used under a different culture. But my take on it all is it works all the time. It's never mocked. And you say, well, you know, I see people out there, they do all these bad things. It doesn't seem like anything's happened. You don't know what's going on inside them, or what's going on behind those closed doors in their home or their business. And that's not our job anyway. Our job is to stay focused on us. And how can we take this teaching, how can we take this understanding and begin to make things. I love this, that karma is a boomerang. That's the way I remember it. It's a boomerang universe. What you put out comes back. We hear that all the time, right? But I had to put this one in. As we take more and more responsibility for our lives, and everything we think, feel, and say, and do, and believe, then whether it's bad or good karma no longer matters, because if we continue to do what we've been teaching, is it what you want in your life, and does it feel good, will guide you to bring what? More of what you want and what feels good to you back from the vibration of the universe. But I had to put one more in here. Can you read that one? It's about the person who was in the bathroom and the toilet paper just was at the last and decided they wouldn't be the ones who changed it out. Karma is you're the next one come needing the bathroom. Another way to look at karma. There are two laws around karma. One is the law of circle. We just talked about what goes out comes back. When you begin to live from that place, that law of the karma is that everything I think about, everything I feel, everything I say, everything I do comes back. If you talk and think about love, unconditional love, you're going to have more love come back. If you talk or think and act in any other way, and this is why I think probably the first or second time I ever spoke here, I spoke about the J and the 4 C's. Let go of judgment, let go of criticism, condemnation, and complaining, and all those things. Why? Because if you do that, you won't bring any of that back to you. And the way Jesus taught is, judge not lest you judge you. That's karma. If I judge you, who's being judged? Me. Comes back to me. So one of the ways that we can check ourselves in our unconditional forgiveness and appreciation and love and compassion for ourselves is, are we judging other people in our minds? Because if we're spending time judging them, it's only coming back to you. And you're not coming from a place of love, you're coming from a place of fear. Coming from ego. So it's a good check. Am I judging? Am I criticizing? Am I complaining? Am I being sarcastic? All those are things that are coming right back in your face. Maybe not this afternoon, but remember, the law's never mocked. It always fulfills itself. And it always fulfills what you're putting out. And the majority of what you and I are putting out is done quietly in our minds, right? You know, people say, oh, I'm glad you can't read my mind. Right? Well, there's a reason for that. There's those quiet things that we're like, well, I just thought it, so it's not going to come back. Oh yeah, it is. It will not be mocked. And the second one is the law of multiplication. It comes back bigger. Why? Because what attracts what? Like attracts like. If I put out negativity, what's coming back in the circle? Bigger negativity. Because it's going to go along vibrating negatively and pick up whatever negative things that will go along the way, and it'll multiply. That's why so many people say what you put out comes back 10 times. I don't know if it does or not, but I know it comes back bigger, stronger, and more powerful. But it works on the other side too. When you put out what you want and feels good, it's coming back. Why? Because it's going to attract like attracts like all the time. So those two laws are so important as we learn to allow this to work in our lives. Because I got news for my Christian friends who don't believe in karma. It's working for them. Every minute of every day for eternity. Whether you believe it or not, doesn't matter, because it's the law and it will not be mocked. It's going to keep coming back. And they're like, well, you know what? I did all those things I was supposed to do at the church, and look what happened. Because they weren't taking responsibility for what was going on inside. And what they were putting out was coming back and multiplying as it goes. I put this up a different way to look at it because this is the misuse of the energy. And we get blockages in the chakras. I had it the other day. What happens when we have fear? What happens shame? What happens guilt? All those things block down the chakras. And when the pure energy flows through, they get filtered through the blocks, the negativity. So a lot of this stuff that we say we're doing, we're not conscious of, we aren't. The energy is flowing through you, through your chakra, and being, another word used for it is qualified. The energy becomes qualified with your imprint, your filter of how you are dealing with these different levels of the rays or the chakras or the energy. So the key is our choice around this whole karma. As the energy flows from the I am presence into our lower four bodies, we use our free will, power, and choice to determine whether we produce good, bad, or balanced karma. We do that. But we do it consciously and we do it unconsciously. So when we were doing the work, and I was saying, I think last week, in the chakras, and as we allow those to get cleaned out and they begin to spin at a higher level of energy and more clean, the energy will flow through us cleaner and much more powerful. And what we put out into the universe is going to come back at a higher level, at a better level. This is the unconscious work that many of us miss. Okay? As we move from victim to mastery of our energy or of our vibrations, we begin to take full responsibility of every thought, feeling, belief, and action. Whatever's going on inside of me, safe travels, Deb. Deb's going to pick up a bunch of puppies. Transfer puppy day. We take full responsibility, and as we take more and more responsibility, we begin to be able to become what? Self-aware. Self-aware how you're feeling. Where's the emotion coming out? It's coming out of the gut. What am I feeling? And how do we process that? And we can process it right then, right there. And we talked a lot about this on Tuesday nights. Do not deny it. Do not stuff it. Feel it. I feel sad. I feel anxious. Because we know that emotion, that energy emotion, only lasts 90 seconds. And it begins to dissipate. And if we don't make it into something else, if we don't grab it and put something on top of it, begin to project it, and all those things is how we increase the energy around the emotion. Breathe and feel it. Don't say I am anxious, say I feel anxiety. I feel anger. Because it's not I am, it's not who you are. But in this moment, you're feeling it. Oops. We create all good use and misuse of God's energy and no one else. So karma is about our use and misuse of the divine energy flow. There's only one person in the universe that can use your divine energy. No one else. I can't, and you can't mine. It's only me and only you. And as that energy flows, you're qualifying it to what you consider good, or what you consider balanced, or what you consider bad. And this is going on 24/7, every day, every night, through our entire lives. So 3 ways our karma can be balanced. And the first one is just endure. That's the majority of people we know. They don't understand this. They don't understand how the energy flows. They don't understand the power that they have, the mastery. They really don't understand that they can master their own emotions by knowing that a thought comes before any feelings. All of this goes together in going to a place where I don't have to just endure whatever my karmic debt is. Now, some people ask me, well, what about past lives? And I'm going to give you, because we're going to talk about this next week, reincarnation. I'm going to tell you what my belief is about all of it. Yeah, probably. But who cares? It's the past. Whatever's showing up right now, whether it came from past lives or what I did 12 years ago or what I did 12 minutes ago, who cares where it comes from? So many people spend all their time analyzing. They go to seers and people say, well, take me back into my past lives. Well, have you ever noticed most of them were kings and queens? No, most of the people in the human experience of history were peasants. But somehow in our past lives analysis and all this, I was the queen of somewhere. No, you weren't. I bet you weren't. But it sells, right? Come on in, I'll charge you another $250 to tell you what the next life was. No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many lives you had. It doesn't matter how many days you have. It doesn't matter how many years you have. You only got one time, here and now. And all this other stuff, no matter what it's done in your karmic debt or whatever, is how you're dealing with this moment in time. And I may have lived 1,000 lifetimes. And I've got quite a few years on this planet. When I got wigged out this morning, it didn't matter where it came from, did it? I was feeling it in the here and now. That's what matters. None of that other stuff. You can spend, you can buy books, $50 books, get 12 of them on reincarnation and karma. It doesn't matter. What matters is, can you deal with what's happening, showing up in you right here, right now? And that's part of it. So we can endure our karma. Number 2, we can serve life. There is, in the karmic balance, if you go out and do good for somebody with no expectations of anything coming back, you begin to wipe out karma debt. So that's where service comes in. It was taught by all the spiritual masters for that very reason. How are you reaching out and helping someone with no pay? No attaboys, no press, no nothing. Except just out of the love and compassion of your heart, you're offering to someone who needs it. If you remember what the master teacher said, as you treat the least of them, he wasn't being critical. He was talking about people who are on hard times in life. As you treat the least of them, you treat the I am or the Christ within you. So service is something important. It begins to take care of some of that. And the third way that we've been learning in a new way for a lot of us is the violet fire decrees or violet flames. It's a spiritual energy that transmutes, burns up old karma debt, burns up the negative. That's why I introduced it, I don't know how many weeks ago now, 15 weeks ago. But it's one of our most powerful tools that we have to be able to let go of the stuff that continues to show up in the negative way. So a way to accelerate the balancing of the karma in the 4 lower bodies is being given in this teaching, and as I said, it came from Buddha, is bringing the energy into our 4 lower bodies, calling down the pure energy from the causal body into your aura. How do we do that? And that energy, those rays around the causal body are pure. They're the divine energy. There's no qualification of human stuff. There's no ego that's polluted it or filtered it. And this is what's called in the New Testament our treasures that we put in heaven. And they're available to every one of us within our beings, and we can pull them down into our very body. So I'm going to teach you how to do that today, all right? Sound like something you want to know how to do? I guarantee you will after you do it. All right? You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to run through the instructions, and I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and breathe, and we'll actually do it. Sometimes I think that might help. So, as this in divine chart that we have, the I Am presence is above us, or the divine within us, and it starts from that white fire and then moves out through the blue, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to pull that down into our very being, our 4 lower bodies. And we're going to take a couple breaths, and we're going to intone the Om 3 times to get centered and find a peace. Begin to see those rings of the causal body starting at the center of the white above us. And then I'm going to have you, and it goes white, yellow, pink, violet, purple, green, blue. You don't have to remember this at this point because I'm going to take you through it. And then as we breathe into it, we're going to see our heart center be that pure white. That's at the center up here. And as we bring the causal body down in, it will center around that white, pure white on your heart. And then the circles begin to go out horizontally in a sphere. And as we do that, that divine pure energy comes into your aura and purifies your aura. Okay? Sounds complicated, it's not. I'll take you through it. All right, so let's just take a couple deep breaths. And if you want, you can see the picture on the screen, starting with the pure white light in the center, going out to the yellow, to the pink, to the violet, to the purple, to the green, to the blue. And as you take a couple more breaths in your centers, see if you can't see your I Am presence above you, and actually see the causal body going out white, yellow, pink, violet, purple, green, blue. And just take a couple more breaths and just allow your focus, your attention to go there. My experience is I begin to breathe there, it actually feels like energy beginning to move. It's no longer a picture flat on a page, but it's energy moving. Remember, energy spirals. It's this intense energy coming from the pure white of the divine, the yellow being the wisdom, pink being the love, violet being freedom, purple being service and wholeness and power and protection is the blue. As you continue to see that now, I just take your attention down to your heart center and see that white sphere, purity of God in your heart center. Spiraling sphere of pure white light. And as you focus on that, just ask the causal body to come down and center around your heart space. So that this energy goes out horizontally in every direction. The white, the yellow, the pink, the violet, the purple, the green, and the blue. That is, fill your aura completely. And when you're really connected with that energy and it's moving and spiraling, let it begin to drop down past your solar plexus, down past your navel, your hips, your knees, and let it go below your feet. Go back up to your I am presence and ask for another download of the energy of the causal body. Let it come and get centered around your heart. Again, the white to the yellow, to the pink, to the violet, to the purple, to the green, to the blue. And now let that begin to settle too, down past your solar plexus. Your base chakra down past your knees and below your feet. And now just take a couple breaths, feeling the energy change within you. I always like to intone Om as a way to seal the decree of the meditation. This is a practice that you can do every day. I would suggest that you do it once a day. And as you are trying to do it then before you go to bed at night, it's a great way to clean everything out. And you sleep in that energy for the next 4 hours. Buddha said once you can do it once a day, then start to try to do it once an hour. You know, it goes back to the tithe of the 10%. You say give basically 5 minutes, 6, 7 minutes out of an hour, and watch what begins to happen as you bring this energy, these 7 rays of the divine into your actual 4 lower. You're going to see some amazing things start to happen. So we just went through all this. So here's what the rays are. The first ray is the blue ray is power, wisdom, love, purity, wholeness, service, and freedom. You basically fill in your 4 lower bodies with the divine of all of those powers, those aspects. It's the fastest way I know to begin to transform what's going on. So there's a teaching here of the electronic belt. It's from your navel down. That's why I had you take it on down through your lower bodies. This is a picture of someone who has a whole lot of negative karma, a lot of negative energy, a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of negative feelings. From their navel down, it's going to look like that. You and I all know really negative people. And they almost look like they're sloshing through life, don't they? That's why. All that stuff is truly weighing them down. All the karmic debt, all the negativity they've ever put out has come back and multiplied and circled back. But this is what we're working on, to look like that. You can see the causal energy going out from the weight. And Jesus said it becomes white as snow. I think this is what he was describing. Your electronic belt, what's below your navel, becomes balanced karma, and it becomes white as snow. And you now have a way to do that. All you have to do is do it. So how do we become more self-aware? This was in the book. I like these 3 questions. Number 1, and you can put these in your journal or do them later this week. In what ways do I see myself making good karma in my life? And just list them. Look at what comes up. Number 2, in what ways do I recognize that I make negative karma in my life? And we all have those. And list them. No judgment, just awareness. And the final question is, if I could change one aspect of myself, what would it be? Pick one. So you know what? In the next week, I'm going to work on that one. How do I let go of that? How do I release it? How do I stop putting it out so it keeps coming back? Because we do that from our what? Habits, from our patterns, from the way we've done it in the past. But you can choose a new way, right? That's why I love the way when you're feeling something negative, simply recognize it. I'm feeling sad. Feel it. But you know what? I get to choose something better. And I'm going to choose one better thought about how to feel happy. And that's how we take this and we change it. Take one aspect and work on it and see what happens. Before we do the decrees, this isn't part of my PowerPoint that got wiped out this morning. We'll see how good my memory is. But there's certain things they say in there, the ways we can enhance our decrees at home. And the way